November 4th, 2022, Halfcast 369, episode 369, let's go. Of course, I have a few things to share with you guys. An evening of reflection. Shall we? State cops called in after white firefighters leave black boys behind. It's a sad state of affairs when the prestige, the pride, the reverence, and admiration that comes along with holding the title of firefighter, America's heroes, can be tainted and diluted by letting the seeds of prejudice take root. Genesee County Prosecutor David S. Layton has requested that Michigan State Police launch a new probe into the circumstances surrounding the deaths of two black boys in a house fire in Flint. Spokesperson John Popberry confirmed to the Daily Beast. 12-year-old Zaire Mitchell and 9-year-old Lamar Mitchell died in May after an incident the local fire department chief said involved two white firefighters missing the boys and then later lying about it on reports. The margin for error when running into a burning building is slim, zero slim, but to lie about it later shows a lack of professionalism and a lack of compassion. Because it was a city of Flint fire department matter, we felt it appropriate that the state police investigate, Potbury told the Daily Beast. A spokesperson for Michigan State Police did not immediately respond to requests for comment on the status of the investigation. In late May, firefighter Sergeant Daniel Snigaki and Michael Zlotek were tasked with searching the room the boys had been sleeping in on the second floor of a home on Pulaski Street. The two white firefighters called an all clear for the rooms in which the boys still lay. It wasn't until 6 minutes later that another team of firefighters looking to vent the room found the boys and rushed them to safety. 6 minutes is a lifetime if you're breathing in smoke, only for them to perish days later. That extra 6 minutes of breathing in smoke could have quite possibly been the difference between life and death for these boys. Snigaki and Zlotek would later report to the chief that they had properly canvassed the room. Nope. But an investigation by Barton concluded that their statement was a lie. Neither man was fired or criminally charged, though Snigaki resigned, sparking outrage in the community. With the extensive training that firefighters receive, it's extremely difficult for me to believe that they just missed those two children. Let me know what you think. Do you think the margin for error is so slim that there's no way that they could have missed those kids? Or do you think the margin for error is so slim that this could have actually been a 1 in a billion mistake? Next up, Minnesota woman killed in parking lot by coworker after rejecting his advances, police say. I think this is a little bit more true for women, whether it comes from actual intuition or just from being observant. When someone gives off a vibe that's just extremely off-putting, you can't put your finger on it, but you just don't want any part of it. No, thank you. I'll take my own self out to a goddamn cup of coffee. A Minnesota man fatally shot his female coworker after she repeatedly rebuffed his sexual advances at work, police said. Early in the morning on October 24th, the body of Nicole Hammond, 28, was found in a St. Cloud business parking lot just meters away from where she was supposed to clock in for work that day. I don't know who needs to hear this, but the job that you go to every day should not be the same place that you go to meet people to hook up with. There are exceptions, but that's not the rule. According to the criminal complaint, officers had arrived at the scene just before 7 a.m. after responding to a call from a witness who'd heard shots being fired on the 400 block of Lincoln Avenue in the small city. When they arrived, they found the 28-year-old victim lying beside her car with what appeared to be a gunshot wound and pool of blood spilling out from below her head. Officers attempted life-saving measures on the young woman, but she was pronounced dead at the scene shortly after. Autopsy results from the coroner's office revealed that she had been shot once on the right side of her neck, NBC News reported. We're talking about repeated sexual advances, not just offers to go for a cup of coffee. Let's go for a sandwich. Let's go for lunch. Let's even go to dinner. No, when he fixed his mouth to ask for sex that very first time, this had already gotten way beyond weird. A witness later came forward and told police that they seen a co-worker of Hammond's, Michael Jordan Carpenter, 36, leave his own car and approach the 28-year-old's vehicle around the time of the shooting, KNSI radio reported. The witness claimed that Mr. Carpenter fled the scene shortly after they'd heard the shots rip through the parking lot and jogged back to his own car before leaving. With a name like Michael Jordan, it's hilarious. It's an icebreaker. It's a great way to strike up a conversation with women, not catching them in the parking lot and making weird sexual advances at them. The St. Cloud Police Department said in a release that they arrested Mr. Carpenter at his residence at approximately 9:50 a.m. and he was taken into custody without incident. When police searched the 36-year-old's car, they received a 9mm pistol that still had a round inside the chamber and a loaded magazine in a carrying case on the driver's side rear seat. The bullets found inside the recovered handgun matched the shell casing found near Hammond's body, according to the filing Fox 9 reported. He looks like a bat with a 5 o'clock shadow. Nothing a wingman can't help. Under questioning, Mr. Carpenter provided an unclear narrative about how the morning of October 24th had unfolded, with police noting that he made multiple contradictory statements. At first, Mr. Carpenter told authorities that he walked towards his co-worker's car on that Monday morning, but then heard a gunshot and saw that someone else was attending to her. The probable cause statement read straight out of an episode of Law and Order. Police pushed back on this version of events, however, as they pointed out in the filing that it would have been difficult to near impossible for Mr. Carpenter to be able to have a clear line of sight at that hour and from his supposed position. Wouldn't you love for that to have been the part when Stabler makes him break down and admit that he's lonely because he's a dork with no people skills? Dum dum. The 36-year-old suspect added in a statement that he did witness a lot of blood beside Hammond's body, but was reportedly too traumatized, so he fled the scene without calling emergency responders or going into work that day. But this is supposed to be the girl that you like so much that you can't leave her alone when she's at work. At one point, Mr. Carpenter claimed that he was aware that Hammond had not clocked into work that day at their shared place of importance, DeVal Textiles, a fact that he would not have been able to ascertain, police said, because he didn't go into work that day nor clock in himself. Evidence uncovered from Hammond's phone revealed that the pair of co-workers had been messaging in the days leading up to her untimely death, including a message sent by the 28-year-old the night before where she reportedly said did not want to be touched by the defendant, nor did she want to be manipulated by him. The probable cause statement said he put this woman in a position where she had to give him a very, very hard no, hurt his little ego because now he still has to see her every day. Another message sent by Hammond to Mr. Carpenter indicated that she asked him to not make things uncomfortable at work. She's the younger woman, but she's more of an adult than she is because she knows not to bring this shit to the workplace. The filing said co-workers interviewed by authorities claimed that the 36-year-old defendant was known to have a bad temper, NBC News reported. Executives at DeVal Textiles, however, were reportedly caught off guard by the assault as they claimed they'd been unaware that Mr. Carpenter had been harassing his younger colleague. And I could see where if she didn't want to make a big office-wide stink about it, if she could handle it herself and he would just leave her alone, then she would be perfectly fine with that. We are very attuned to our staff's needs, obviously not, concerns, and anytime that there is anything that requires our intervention, we step in, said Hammond's boss, Rob DeVal, chief executive at DeVal Textiles, in an interview with Fox 9 News. But in this case, we had no indication that there was anything awry. Mr. Carpenter acknowledged under questioning that he'd been left upset by the text conversation with his coworker the night before her death. The filing said, notice how he phrased it like they text each other, like they were going together, like they just had a little disagreement as a couple. No, this man was known in the workplace for having a bad temper, and when he came her way, she didn't want any part of it. The 36-year-old was charged with second-degree murder and was booked into Benton County Jail, where he remains. If convicted, he faces a maximum sentence of 40 years in jail. Next up, New York fugitive 31, who'd been on the run for a year, is spotted by cops at Walt Disney World. Oh, New York City, I've been on the run for a whole year, and boy are my Timberlands tired. A fugitive from New York on the run for a year was apprehended in Walt Disney World, of all places, by the very officer who had signed the initial complaint against him. Is a small world, a small Disney World. Quayshawn Burton, 31, has been on the lam since November, when U.S. Postal Inspection Service officers attempted to arrest him over an alleged identity theft scheme that he used to falsely obtain about $150,000 of COVID loans. That cop had to save up 3-4 years just to get to that vacation, and here this guy pops up bippity boppity boop. Surprise is not the word for it. Last year, Burton was not at his Brooklyn home when agents arrived to arrest him. His mother informed him that her son would not be self-surrendering. Didn't you get the memo? Federal Postal Inspector Jeff Andre wrote that Burton had established a complex web of identities that made his crimes difficult to investigate. Reported the Daily Beast, he has clearly demonstrated an ability to mask his true identity to evade law enforcement. So too has he demonstrated a willingness to lie about his identity to avoid arrest, he said. You know, like a criminal does. But Burton's skillful evasions were ultimately not enough to stop the stroke of fate that placed Andre and the alleged fraudster in one another's path at the happiest place on earth last month. Definitely not the happiest place on earth if your caseload physically shows up to vacation with you. On October 20th, 2022, Andre was on vacation at Disney World when he spotted Burton in the resort's Animal Kingdom at just past 3 a.m. I'll never forget it when I saw him sitting there like he's not on the run. Andre says he recognized Burton by the distinctive H tattoo on his neck. The postal officer promptly alerted the Orange County Sheriff's Office that a fugitive was in the park, and security staff tracked Burton before a deputy arrived and found him waiting at a bus stop with 2 family members. He brought the whole family down there to share on that COVID money. The sheriff's deputy reported that he advised Quayshawn that I needed to speak with him about the possible suspicious activity he was involved in, and he questioned why he needed to provide his identification. It's a fake ID anyway. We know it is. Later, I advised him he was the subject of a warrant, and when I attempted to secure him, he began tensing up and bracing his arms. I informed him multiple times to place his hands behind his back, but he refused, he said. It was additionally revealed that Burton had been visiting the park under a fake name Darkwing Duck, and refused to acknowledge his true identity even after fingerprints proved it. After being taken to the Orange County Jail, he was handed into federal custody. In late October, a detention hearing ruled that Burton could be released as long as he was kept under pretrial supervision in New York and remained subject to GPS monitoring. After strictly advising against letting this man out of any sort of custody, him ending up in Walt Disney World vacationing with his family members is the ultimate I told you so flex. On Thursday, New York Judge Lewis Kaplan ruled that Burton should not be granted bail ahead of his trial. A trial date has not yet been set. Fun show. Fun show. Fun show. That being said, I'm going to wrap this one up, but I'll be sure to talk to you guys very, very soon. Adios.